Good afternoon, my name is Jami, Gregory. I will be giving you a presentation over the two theories I was assigned in the beginning of my interpersonal communications course I've been taking online all semester. The two theories I was given were the proximic theory and the existential theory. The proximic theory was a theory developed by Edward Hall. He taught at the Illinois Institute of Technology, which is where he developed the theory. The theory describes how we use space to communicate in different ways, like to communicate our comfort levels with people. There are 4 levels of space that we use to communicate. There's intimate space, which is 0 to 18 inches, which is more of like uptight and personal, like with your loved ones. You like intercourse and cuddling. And then there's also personal space, which touch is really common in that type of space setting, but not quite as common. It's not like constant touching. The space distance for that one is 18 inches to 4 feet. It's still good for conversation, and like I said, touch is still very common, but you're not constantly like on top of one another. Then there's also social space, which it's easy to disengage from that space. It's solely for hearing and sight. There's no touch involved in that, and that distance is 4 feet to 10 feet. It's for interpersonal transactions. And then there's public space, which is 10 feet to like infinity. Like you don't really sit there and talk to someone. It's more of like a mass meeting or in a lecture hall. You don't really talk to people. It's not really any kind of conversation undergoing. It's just like casually passing by one another. There's also cultural settings for the different space levels. Like America, here in the United States, we're more of a non-contact culture, so touch isn't very common in our casual settings. Asians and Northern Europeans share the non-contact traditions, whereas like Arabic cultures are more of a contact culture, and so are like I think it said Spanish cultures are also more of a contact, so it's more common to be greeted with like a hug or a kiss on the cheek, like the French. It can cause conflicts between cultures whenever you go overseas or something to do business. You may not be used to the contact culture if you're like an American and you're going to do an oil exchange, which was one of the examples they used in the paper I read. It said that if you were one of the businessmen going over there to negotiate like prices or something with exchanging oil with an Arabic country, you might not be as comfortable if you're approached by someone who traditionally doesn't brush their teeth or mask their body odor, and they walk up to you and they're constantly touching your arm and they're not letting you disengage eye contact. But on the other hand, while you're off put by that, you might want to brush him off. He might take it as rude if you were to brush him off and just like push him back, like, oh, I'm not okay with this. So Hall's theory was that while you might not be comfortable with it, when in Rome, you need to understand that that's their culture. And it may not be yours, but it's their culture. If you want to do business with them, you're going to have to deal with it. My next theory is going to be the existential theory, which is by Carl Rogers. He taught at the University of Chicago as well as the University of Wisconsin, but then he went on to another university in California where he conducted more studies on his theory. The existential theory describes the 3 different levels you need to maintain a healthy relationship, and there are 3 conditions that need to be met. The first condition is congruence, which is being totally and completely yourself with the people you're wanting to build a relationship with. You don't try to hide or act like someone you're not. He actually conducted studies with students he taught. He would take them on it was like a week-long retreat to like an island where they would build on their ability to maintain healthy relationships. So they would all be there. They would go to seminars and stuff that he would teach, and he would explain to them the 3 conditions that need to be met. And one of the examples he had was there was a student there that was always making jokes and stuff like that, and he wasn't really okay with him, but he used his 3 theories to apply it to that scenario and build a relationship with the kid that he was teaching. Anyway, the three conditions that need to be met are congruence, which I already explained, unconditional positive regard, which is understanding where the other person is coming from and not negatively thinking about where they're coming from, like, oh, they're just being lazy, or, you know, I don't care, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be acting the same way. So you're just constantly, you know, building them up in your own head. And then you use empathic understanding in the end to understand where they're coming from if they're delivering you a message in return. So, like, to apply the theory so maybe you better understand it is, there's a scenario if, you know, you're working with some of your coworkers, obviously, at work. If one of them is slacking off and it really bothers you, you don't just brush it off, you're not passive about it, you're also not aggressive about it. You approach them, you're congruent, you're not acting like, you know, everything's totally okay. You're delivering the message that, hey, it kind of bothers me that I'm having to pull your weight because you can't do your job. But you're not rude about it. And you speak to them about it, and then you're using unconditional positive regard. Like, I'm not trying to call you lazy. I'm not saying that you're lazy, but I just want you to understand that it's also upsetting me. And then using your unconditional positive regard to do that, and then you listen to what they have to say about it using empathic understanding. So you've already done your part of the speaking, and then you need to shut up and listen to them. You need to listen to their side of the story, empathic understanding. Maybe they're going to tell you that, hey, it's been a really long week for me, and I'm sorry, I'm just a little tired, it's been rough, I'll try to pull my own weight. And then, you know, everything's all dandy again. So, you know, you work through it, you're building a better relationship by using those 3 steps. And I guess that's all I have on those theories. Do you have any questions?
How has empathic understanding helped you?
Well, whenever I was working in Oklahoma at one of my jobs, there's a lady named Sabrina, and she would always sit at her desk, and she wouldn't pull her own weight. Anything you had to get up to do, she would make one of us get up to do it. And it really upset me because I would be in the middle of making a phone call or something, or trying to fill out a card, or find somebody on skip tracing because it was a loan office. And so I approached her about it one day, and I'm like, why do I always have to get up and take care of anything that requires getting up out of your chair? Why can't you get up and file the paperwork, or why can't you get up and greet the customer? And then I was trying really hard not to be rude about it. She was a little bit overweight, and she was older, and she told me that, hey, I've had a stroke in the last 2 years, and I can't really overexert myself. So I felt a little bad about it, but I tried to use unconditional positive regard, and I used that, and I empathically understood, like, hey, she has health issues. Maybe I shouldn't be putting all this on her. Maybe I should look back on myself and, you know, just help her out. Any other question? No? All right. Good job.